Merritt's in the background making things ready for me. She thinks
Make
it's
ready the
uncivilized.
podcast. Make
thinks
ready
it's
the
uncivil-
podcast. Nice, little lower, little to the right.
Oh,
Yeah, a little bit.
hey.
What? Ooh, all right. Get my money out. Oh, shit.
Come up for meditation and get harassed.
It's like,
Yeah. Yep.
Merit.
She's supposed to be in her meditation time frame and everything else,
No, I
and
just finished.
she just, there you go. John's got money for you.
Oh,
There you go. That's it.
nice.
Game on.
Ain't no singles here either, baby.
Oh, there's all big cash.
We got waiters here. How are you, Nick?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. It's nice to see you.
Okay, we got everybody.
All right. Close this up.
Yeah, I don't think we have anybody else coming in. This is the full game.
At least I can lay down for this one.
You can lay down for this one, and I believe we are recording, so.
I'll close you.
Yeah, it said when I logged on that be forewarned, this is recording.
Be forewarned.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, especially for an education, how many people came in with their pants off and stuff, and we're lost their jobs.
Exactly. This thing's probably going out to school districts far and wide.
I was just gonna say that my daughter's probably watching this right now.
I know.
They just got the whole Avon school
Check test,
Lakewood
check
school
test.
system got an alert. Going
Can you
live
guys hear
now,
me?
School board.
We can hear Chris Smith.
Okay. All right.
Hey, if Sleepy's got Omicron, if you rearrange the letters, it spells moronic.
I had the Delta. I wasn't cool enough to get the new one.
Not the latest and greatest.
I think the new one's the one to get. You want to get the Omicron.
Oh, really?
Omicron. It's pronounced Omicron.
Omicron.
I heard the
Pennsylvania.
Omicron.
symptoms are pretty low. I heard compared to other things.
Yeah, you get the immunity without the death.
Yeah.
Ah.
Well,
You don't
here's,
know. I mean, they don't know yet.
here's where I think I
That's-
fucked myself though. I was making 3 to 4 round trips a day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday by myself, like moving shit.
Yeah.
And I knocked my own I was so tired that I think I had dropped my immunity down low and it just kicked my ass.
Oh, okay.
Oh well.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing is you wiped yourself out. You legitimately ran yourself out of energy. But then in addition to running yourself out of energy, you got COVID, which then fucks you over because now you don't want to eat anything or whatever. So Jesus, yeah, you're double dipping the bad sauce.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's awful. Yeah. Can't ask for anything worse than that. Ginger ale.
Nice.
We're on our way to a drink. Not a drink yet.
Smith, I didn't even realize until today I was going through all the shit that I've missed for the last week. One of your buddies called or a relative or something. I'll give him a call back this weekend as soon as I feel like a normal human being.
Yeah, it's a her, I think, but that's okay.
I just saw that it was there. I just looked at the voice message OCR and I saw your name and I said, okay, it's a Smith gig. Yeah.
You guys want to see something cool?
Yeah.
We turned our dishwasher into a bar.
Nice.
What?
Eric, would you be so kind as to show the fine folks our dishwasher? She's pouring her coffee water first. So we came up with this idea because we have not used our dishwasher in at least 2 years. So ready? Go ahead and pull out that bottom tray. There you go.
I love it.
That's it. So can you hand me a dark rum, please? Yeah, we got the stirrers and all kinds of good stuff in there. And then, top shelves for the super tall bottles. But that's a new tip from your Uncle Phil is just turn your old dishwasher into a bar.
Havana Club?
Havana Club sounds great.
All right.
So there you go. Yeah, so that's a little tip for
You got your airline bottles right in there.
yeah, we also have a spot. Merritt's got a spot for the airline bottles.
Bitters and
Yeah,
such.
your bitters and everything else go in the utensil tray. Yeah.
That's a viral video waiting to happen.
Oh yeah, you have to get that weird Chinese lady going like, this guy turned his dishwasher into a bar.
Yeah, the one who simplifies everything.
Yeah.
The one that I like is the sexy cyborg Naomi Wu, and that's the one that if you aren't watching the sexy cyborg, you probably should be. The
I even like this.
Merritt loves the sexy cyborg. She approves.
She's very smart.
Yeah, she approves. And she's been modified a lot. And she may be a work overdone, but
Matter of taste.
it's a matter of taste. Exactly. Certain parts of her get there before the rest of her all the time. Yeah.
Oh,
I was totally in love with 7 of 9 for a long time.
So, oh yeah, geez. Well, this woman's a cyborg. I think she only has 2 significant alterations, and they're both in front. Yeah. She hasn't received the entire Starfleet upgrade, but yeah, so that's who she's all about. But yeah, so right up.
In that case, then my wife's probably a cyborg too.
Yes, well, exactly. I think that's the whole definition of it, is that whole, have received alterations and maybe no longer has all the stock factory parts.
I think that would be a side boob.
That's totally different, Steve. There's the cyboob and the triclops, depending on which way you go. Up one or down one. I prefer the triclops.
Do you remember that girl that was trying?
When I fall asleep.
Do you remember that girl that was trying to do the thing with the 3 boobs, saying she had 3 and all that stuff, and then she almost got away with it, but she was on a plane and one of her content list was like a prosthetic boob or something, and then she got busted. But she was trying to do it's real. I had it implanted in New Zealand and all this shit. And,
no, I've seen the real thing. It actually exists. Trust me.
Oh, okay.
There's video available.
Are they even?
The center one was actually the biggest one. The two
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Is that the donkey show?
It's on the YouPorns.
Oh,
I did not know.
The 2-headed cow. There used to be a 2-headed cow at a bar in Euclid.
Really?
Yeah. It was the home of the 2-headed cow, and it was actually like a one cow body with 2 heads coming off the cow body.
Was it just taxidermy?
No, it looked like it was real.
Okay. No, but was it taxidermy or was it living, breathing animal?
No, it was taxidermy.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
they couldn't have messed with that at all.
I can't remember the name of the bar though, but it was like something but their whole shtick was whatever the name was, the head of the 2-headed, the home of the 2-headed cow. And it was up on the wall underneath the skeet thing, like that bowling machine or whatever. It sat on top of that. So when you played the bowling machine, you saw the 2-headed cow.
You were just the whole time standing underneath the 2-headed cow.
That was cool.
It's believable. I mean, there's 2-headed people and stuff like that. I mean, that's real.
It was actually a calf though. Like, I mean, it was the size of like a big goat.
I'm sure it was just big enough to win the category. Like if you say you're going to have a 2-headed cow, you don't need to have 1,000-pound cow.
No.
You can do it with the smallest possible cow.
Right.
Well, you figure with humans, it's not, I mean, they can reason with each other and they can learn to get along and everything. With an animal like that, you might just get, like, as they get older, one might like chew the other one's face up or something and kill them both.
I don't think they would be able to like twist in the manner to be able to chew each other's face, but I mean, you wonder how the digestive tract works. If it's like a split, like esophagus, or if one could only eat.
It's a 2 into 1. It's a 2 into 1.
Yeah, 2 into 1.
Well, apparently
that
the conjoined twins that I've been following, they actually have a boyfriend.
Yeah, well, isn't one of them a country singer?
Something like that.
Yeah.
Does he have 2 dicks?
Yeah.
Two Richards.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. Well, that would be the problem, is if you were, me, if I had another head, like Rosie Greer up on my, shoulders here. That's an old 70s movie reference, but if you did,
that was a good movie too.
it would just be awful. I mean,
we watched that at work. We watched that at work the one day.
You did?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's awful.
Yes, it does.
Or Zaphod Beeblebrox.
Hell yeah.
That's the perfect
Everybody
one.
hated that movie. I loved the BBC version of it. Everybody hated that movie. I liked that fucking movie, man. I thought
The new one?
Yeah, I thought it was.
Yeah,
all
I thought
right.
it was. I thought it was fine. I
Yeah.
don't have any problems with it.
No, and
Yeah,
I
it's
thought they
one of
did
those-
his face thing really well, like how it kind of
Yeah.
shifted up and down and stuff.
Right.
They did it
Versus
way better
the
than the BBC
70s
did it.
TV series that had it next to him. It was just this dead looking
Dead
mannequin.
The TV series, the BBC TV series was the worst. Like
in the
that
best
special
way,
effects
though.
budget was $5.
Yeah, it made Doctor Who look like fucking Star Wars or something, man. It was, yeah,
Pretty low art. Yeah.
yeah.
The in interesting stuff at the shop news, because it has virtually shut down. I think we've sold like 1 or 2 bikes this week.
So there's a podcast. Are we lit? Are we calling?
Yeah.
this
Oh, we're lit. We were recording. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Are we at podcast number? What did we say, Sleepy? 342,
354.
354, 354. Yeah.
Yeah, and now that I'm actually able to get out of bed, in the next few days I'll edit
A million.
353 and I'll get that up. So that'll be the
Okay.
pre-Thanksgiving one that, obviously Thanksgiving just happened, but it'll come up. Yeah.
Fantastic. The audience is going to have to put up with some eating noises because I had to rush out of the shop, do 100 jobs on my way home just to get back here because I'm not set up. I am not set up to do Zoom call at all.
Right.
I'm sure none of us are.
Well, let me explain and apologize to our listeners. The reason that we have to do this is because even though I was vaccinated, I snagged the old COVID virus. And so for the last week, I've been dead.
Yeah.
So
Well, tell us about your symptoms because I know everybody here wants to know.
It started off kind of flu-like, and it progressed from there. And then on Thursday night, I started to get pretty bad chills, and I was like, "Oh, it's probably still just I'm vaccinated. It's probably the flu." Then Friday, I woke up, didn't feel that bad. I went to my new house for the last time. I took one load. I came back, and I was shaking so bad I threw out my shoulder. And I was laying in bed, couldn't get out of bed. My wife is gone. She had to go visit her dad. Her dad's not doing too well. So the whole family left. So I was by myself. So I came and climbed into bed with my dog and we're laying here and I started shaking. And then I got a stomach cramp so bad that it literally jolted my body. I didn't know I could fold as much as I did. And it just folded me in half and it didn't go away for 14 hours. It was just, it was the stomach cramp, shakes, sweating. Then I'd be freezing, then I'd be hot, then I'd be freezing, then I'd be hot. And then all my body aches started, I already have arthritis. So any kind of arthrital joint or anything like that intensified by like 10. I tried to drink water, immediately threw it up. And then as soon as I got done throwing the water up, it went to dry heaves. And usually that's like 1 or 2 heaves. It lasted like 2 hours at a time. And then I'd crawl back to bed and lay there shaking and just and then it would just go from I'd be freezing. And so you'd sit there, you try to put a blanket on, and then you get 1,000 degrees hot and take that off. And then that would make you colder because now you're sweaty and cold. And it just was this whole fucking thing forever. And that lasted for the last 4 days. It was just off and on waves of that. I had no BMs, nothing like that. I was trying to take some medicines and things like that, but it was hard to keep anything down. I'd forced myself to drink water. I had some of that body armor shit laying around in a thing. So I was drinking some of that body armor stuff and I'd force myself to keep it down just to have something in my stomach. Finally, I think what helped me a little bit is I figured out my daughter for her school lunches, we get her these little applesauce packets. So I went downstairs and figured out I could get those, and just going downstairs and coming back up, it makes you tired. Also, I was here with my animals alone. So every morning and night I'd have to save up energy. I'd have to be okay, all right, in 20 minutes, you're going to get up and do this shit. So I'd get up and feed all the dogs and cats. And then by the time I got back up to the room, I couldn't move for 4 hours. I was
Jesus.
It was I worked a full day of breaking rocks with a fucking chisel or something like that. That's how sore I was just from feeding the dogs and cats for 10 minutes. And then come back.
Now you just created COVID-20 because you were sleeping with your dogs and cats.
No,
And now
not
they're
in.
going to reinfect you, and now you're going to be the dude that kills the entire world.
No, they weren't with me. He was down on his little thing, but he wouldn't. I tried to keep him out of the room, but if you ever have a pit bull, they're nurse dogs. So he was freaking the fuck out. And so I had to let him in, and he tried to get up on the bed and I told him no, and he was cool. So he laid in the corner, but it was weird because he literally, I don't think he slept. I really didn't sleep. Like, you'd close your eyes to try to keep the shake. Oh, and my eyeballs were shaking. It was fucking crazy.
Oh man.
And so like I'd close my eyes, try to keep the eyeballs from shaking, and then I'd open it and look, and then he'd just be staring at me. Like it could be like 2 hours later, and he's just sitting there staring at me. So I wasn't sure if he liked me or if he was just waiting for me to die so he could eat me.
Maybe the latter.
You can't get your dog COVID because he won't wear a mask. Period.
Right.
I don't think you can make him wear a mask.
No, and I can't get him pregnant. He's a boy, so I tried that before. Oh no, I didn't. Sorry, never mind. But yeah, so that was it. And then I guess like yesterday I started to like at least like be able to kind of eat something. I had a can of soup and something. And then today I felt, not too bad, man. Like I've had waves. Like it's weird. It's almost like COVID is photosensitive because like during the day you're not too bad. And like I was in the same position. I didn't do anything. I was sitting here like on my bed. I was sitting there and I shut the lights off. And as soon as the lights went off, my nose started running and I started coughing.
I'm sure other people have said this too. When you're sick and you're trying to work through it or do whatever, it's like you can survive the whole day and be somewhat miserable, low grade miserable. But then you get home and you take your fucking boots off and then all hell breaks loose. And you're like, I'm just going to fucking die. And then the next day you somehow manage to rally and go to work again. But there's something to it. It's like when you take away the stimulus, you start to notice the other problems.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know if you guys saw this today, but I thought this was pretty cool. So I posted a thing on Moto Stories just because, like I was trying to keep consistent and then it's just been dead for a week. So I said, hey guys, sorry, I got sick, blah, blah, whatever. We have some stuff coming up. Thank you, whatever. So if anybody ever wonders if anybody ever listens to this shit, this dude, Yamatrix T500, sounds like an awesome guy, said that Spotify has informed him that in this past year, he's listened to 15,038 minutes, aka 130 episodes of the ClevelandMoto podcast, plus every single Motor Stories episode. Should he seek help? Should he be concerned? I say we got to send this dude a fucking cup or a mug or something.
I know shit.
Here's to you, my friend. Here is to you.
Shit.
Right.
Yeah.
So that was.
I'm so sorry.
But you know what? That made my fucking day, man. That really made me happy, man.
Like 4 hours a week, man.
Yeah. 15,000.
Since when you say it made your day, I'm wondering whether it made you nauseous.
No, it made me actually pretty happy, man. I was like, that was all right.
Yeah, that's serious.
Yeah. So people do listen. That makes me happy.
They do. And it is, this week in particular, it's sad that, you're down and you're out, you're on the DL as it were. But yeah, we had a lot of folks chiming in. I'm going to say Matt Davidson, who's a podcast listener, he's chimed in a bunch. I mean, Matt is like one of our solid OG listeners.
You never sent me the pictures.
Again, we will give him props, but Matt Davidson just discovered something that all of us have been aware of for a long time, and that's the Vespa Cannon.
Oh yeah.
All right. Yeah. So a lot of us, we've been aware of that, that Vespa, that French, it's made by the French company ACMA, and it's got a 75 millimeter recoilless rifle on it. And so he's straight up like he just discovered that. But here's the weird thing. I had a buddy that sent this over my way knowing that he had the hotline number. So here's somebody who's a buddy of his that is not a Patreon subscriber apparently, but knows that Matt is, and sent it over there. And he said, it seems like a really fucking terrible idea. Well, no shit. Yeah, it's a really fucking terrible idea. In the military, I have been next to or close to a 75 millimeter recoilless rifle when it's fired. There is no doubt in my mind that the term recoilless, I'd like to pay special attention to the less at the end of it. It is not recoil free. It is recoil less. I'm certain that firing a recoilless rifle that's in the middle of a Vespa scooter would turn a Vespa scooter into jello.
But wait a second. You don't actually fire it. That just carries it like it. It's not permanently attached, is it?
It is. So anyway, the way this works is that the recoilless rifle is mounted under your seat. Okay. Now, it's not meant to be fired while you're driving. It is meant to park it, aim it vaguely in the direction of the tank you want to destroy, load in one of those 6 recoilless rifle shells, and shoot it at the tank using your best possible sighting method, which I think is park the scooter next to the tank.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Right. Well, especially
You're supposed-
considering those shells, those 75 millimeter recoilless rifle shells, those shells weigh about 50 pounds a piece. So just in ammunition, you're carrying 300 pounds on an 8-inch wheeled Vespa.
And
Now,
you have to aim the whole thing at a tank.
Yeah. And as you can see, it has what I'd like to call slightly modified center stands. So the center stand is slightly modified from a normal Vespa center stand. But yes, the answer
So
is
if you need to point it down, you have to stand behind the Vespa
lift it
and
up,
hold the back wheel up while you
Right.
fire it and
Yes.
catch all the no.
but catch all the back blast. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. It's a disaster. It's such an idea from a strategic standpoint. It is such a good idea that only the French could have come up with it.
Do you know if it's
Yeah.
ever been used in battle?
No, it has not. So this device, this whole thing came out before the Vietnam War, in a time when the French had a lot of time to kill because they weren't actively involved. They didn't have any skin in the game in Vietnam anymore. And so when this thing came out, and what you can't see in this picture is on the other side, every single one of these I've seen in a museum, and I've seen a bunch, has had a French airborne insignia on the side of it. So in addition to being a bad idea on the ground, they also dropped these from the air. So
Oh, well, maybe that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
You're supposed to shoot them while you're in the air, while you can still aim everything.
or a better idea, just drop it on a tank
Yeah.
and hope that the rounds go off and kill the tank. Yeah. But the idea of riding that scooter with a gun that weighs over 400 pounds, ammunition that weighs over 300 pounds. If anybody knows what it's like to ride 2 chubby guys on a Vespa with 8-inch wheels, you'll know that doing it with a tank, a cannon, and 6 rounds of ammunition is impossible, especially when 5 feet of gun comes out off the front of the scooter. Yeah. So I think that it's like all other French weapons, never been fired and only been dropped once.
I went down
You're walking around with a totally useless big dick.
let me tell you about that. I went down. I'm not even going to get into the rabbit hole, but it was a great documentary series, three seasons long, the whole thing. And it's about, certain German guys and like their activity after the war and stuff like that and how much they did. But one of the things, just to correlate with that, in Norway, they were guarding a fort and they found these Nazi fortifications where they had 60-inch guns that could shoot 32 miles and be
That's
accurate.
5 feet.
Yeah, it's insane.
Wow.
Like they're the biggest weapon or biggest gun ever recorded in the world, and they fired them fairly regularly, I guess. And the turrets, these things that they're mounted in, and all that, the turret is 120 feet in diameter. That's what is like in the ground and built in the ground that this thing turns on and stuff like that. But yeah, 32-mile range with an accuracy of like 12 feet or something like that. It was insane.
That's like the entire thing is a lot of people were spending a lot of time working on artillery while our country was developing nuclear weapons.
Well, so were they.
So
yeah, it was man. I was I don't know. I'm not gonna get into it. It's amazing documentary. But anyway,
I watched a documentary where it was after the war, where there were still Nazis in Argentina or whatever.
Yeah, that's what this was.
Build a heavy water. They were still trying to generate heavy water at a hydro station to build the Fourth Reich.
Those guns were guarding that hydro station because that's where they were doing the heavy water. They found 700 fortified camps throughout South America. And I'm not talking like camps. I'm talking 50 acre to 100 acre to 5 miles to 50-mile fortified bunkered camps. And all the big dog Nazi guys were alive. They have this was like an FBI like full investigation of everything, and they showed logs and records. They had they
had paperwork signed by Mendele and stuff like that.
Yeah, you saw it too. That thing was amazing, man.
You know, when I think about that, I think about all the Americans that have houses and have retired to Costa Rica because
Mhm.
they're just tired of living in the snow and shit like that. And like your money goes a little further or whatever. But I think the Nazis had the exact same exit strategy. It was called Argentina or it
Yeah,
was called South Africa. You know,
they were
like
trying to build the forked right. They didn't go to retire, man. They were going to build it up, and they wanted to take out the Panama Canal to kill us, like this to stop our economy completely.
They whipped out the original light bulb from the lighthout, and it was this
Yeah.
big swastika in the middle. Like,
Yeah.
oh shit!
Yeah,
it was like a bat signal. It was
Yeah.
like
you know what?
throw
You know
the
what?
switch and it projected a giant swastika up on the clouds.
That's
Like,
discreet.
oh,
But this was interesting. The most interesting thing of the whole thing to me, though, not even taking into what it was about, was the software they had. So the reason they were able to do all this is they developed a new software. They took 18,000 documents from all the different countries' governments, all the
Yeah.
different like FBI's, MIA, SIX, like all these different things, all the new unclassified documents from the last 70 years. They fed them into this data system, and then it scans all the documents. And now you can go to it and say, South America, Mangala, da da da, and it'll pull up all the links to all the stuff that matches all that, and that's how they're able to piece all this together. Which, like, I can't believe I'm sure the FBI does have something like that, but it's like it was pretty amazing, man.
Yeah, and when the more that you get on a deep dive on anything like that, you realize, and what we're going through today, where people are like, I think there's some kind of a conspiracy. Well, no shit, there's a fucking conspiracy.
Yeah,
You know?
I got into
Yeah.
one today where like the government didn't tell us till now about the Japanese photo balloons, where
Yeah,
like
right.
they were strapping the bombs to the balloons,
Yeah.
and they said there's over 7,000 of them still unexploded all over the United States, and since the government
Pacific
never told
Northwest is
anybody,
probably full of them.
yeah, and like the government never told anybody, so there's only been two incidents so far of kids finding them and blowing up.
One of my favorite thing about this story right now at this particular moment is the one guy in our group that would have the most to say about this is the one that is counting sheep right now. So-
I'm totally awake.
the
But
So-
everything's a conspiracy.
it's
No, I mean,
100%.
Right
If
now,
everything's a conspiracy, if everything's a conspiracy, is nothing a conspiracy?
That's it. Here's a little something for you.
Hopper's
I got
just
it.
sitting back listening. He's like, "This is like my normal regular programming."
No, because we had talked about the Nazis and the moon then, and then he'd have been all
Oh, yeah.
about it.
No, I was about to mention that.
So this is if you want to
Who's
know what it's
hollow?
like sometimes to be a dealer, weird shit happens. I got an email from a person who lives in Cleveland area that has an Energica motorcycle, Energica electric motorcycle. And this guy's got one and he's been super invested in the idea of my shop becoming an Energica dealership, right? Because he wants a place to be able to bring his bike and get services done. And he was with us on our Distinguished Gentleman's Ride this year. He had that blue Energica SS9. And he's a super nice guy. But, he's an electrical engineer and, as you would be if you owned that motorcycle. And so he sends me this message today that he's gotten news from the people at Energica that, of course, as me, a dealer, I'm going to have my first demo bike in a month. And then I'm going to have, I think Merritt just laughed in the background. That was pretty funny. But then 2 months later, by February, I'm going to have all 3 versions of their bikes on my floor. And this is a customer telling me this. Aren't I supposed to have that information directly from the manufacturer?
Yeah.
I thought you were supposed to be the oracle,
I
not the other way
know.
around.
That's it. So yeah, he told me, he's like, oh yeah, I talked to Energica and they're like, oh, you're going to have your first demo bike. It's going to be there in 30 days. And then you're going to get 3 more bikes by February. And I was like, wow, man, that's fantastic. Cause I haven't signed my dealer contract yet. So
You better watch. A fucking truck's gonna pull up, and all of a sudden, blop, blop, blop.
I know. And the thing is, like, I haven't agreed to any of their terms or their flooring terms or any of their stuff they're doing. But like a lot of Italian companies I've worked with in the past, you're right, John. The truck shows up and they go like, oh, here's your $50,000 worth of signage and parts. And the next truck shows up and they're like, oh, here's $200,000 worth of clothing and apparel. And then you're like, what the fuck? And then the third truck shows up last with 35 bikes you didn't order. And that's like, oh, okay. So I thought it was great today when I got a message from one of my customers letting me know that apparently I was an Energica dealer and I'd have my demo bike in less than 30 days. So
Don't sign anything.
you know, you got to negotiate the terms before you sign anything. What'd you say, Merritt? Yeah, so that's it. Merritt just said, yeah, he was on the horn with Santa's hotline. I'm sure the people at Energica were like, oh yeah, well, of course we got a dealer in Cleveland. We got Ohio covered.
Yeah, buy another bike. You're fine.
You're fine. And I actually, Sleepy, I think you're onto something because I think that, I mean, he's got more than a small handful of miles on the SS9. He's had it for a couple of years now. I think he's got the itch to buy another Energica.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And so with Zero's doing a bunch of weird shit right now too. So Zero's basically selling you a bike like a Tesla, and then you buy the bike, and then you can pay a subscription fee to unlock parts of the bike. So
Like an Elio.
you want reverse on your electric motorcycle? You want your Zero to have a reverse? You can have that. $200, and we'll unlock it.
Do you want turn signals? $5,000.
Yeah, but don't you think a kid like Nick over here is just not going to hack the shit out of that and fucking do whatever he wants?
I got a question for you. So this one's something that maybe you guys have an answer for. If I were to buy a vehicle like Kromke, who's not here tonight because he's at a snob meeting.
Christmas dinner.
Thank you. Yeah. Here's my question. If Kromke has to pay a subscription fee to his cell phone so he can open up his doors or start his engine remotely on his Subaru. So, you know, he doesn't have a keychain that has a button on it that just automatically opens up the doors for free from the day he buys the car until the day, you know, the car dies in a crusher. He has to pay a subscription fee for the permission to open his doors or start his engine. I think it's just start the engine on his phone. Well, if he does buy that, he pays for that feature, that option. If he sells the car, does the feature go with the car, or does the new owner have to buy all that shit again?
Oh,
It seems to me like
it's a feature that he's buying, just the activation of the internet on the vehicle.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Well,
so that the vehicle is connected, so they're
Right.
actually paying a subscription fee to like the cell service or the whatever service it is to activate the internet on it. So
Right. So I guess
Well,
here's
it's just like satellite radio or something.
Yeah,
That's in
right.
some cars where it's like if you buy a used car that has XM satellite radio in it,
right.
as soon as the plan or whatever finishes its contract, then it'll just stop.
So if
And
I
the
buy
thing
my
is, I mean,
motorcycle,
The thing is, it's going to be like, I mean, we had radios, okay? So they had subscriptions and stuff like that. And if you wanted to have Bluetooth or whatnot, you had to pay Motorola and everything. And you couldn't get away with it because they're always online.
Mhm.
So every time they touch the system, they're reporting what they're using. So if you jimmied it somehow or something like that, it would report that you're using it and they would know, and they'd bill off of that, you know? So like your Zero, it's connecting whether you know it or not, right?
Yeah.
I mean, at Zero, you don't have to log in for it to report back to Zero.
nope.
It will automatically, they know everything that's going on with that
Well,
bike.
that-
So
Yeah. And if you've paid for the application, if you've paid to have reverse, or you've paid to have extra battery, or paid to have extra power, which these are all options you can pay to have.
yeah,
And then if I get that bike over the course of like 5 years, if I totally pimp this shit out and I've got, you know, $4,000 worth of upgrades turned on in that machine, and I sell it to Nick, well, the
the
second,
real question is, what would the DMV, how do they get DMV records to show that title transferred? You know what I mean?
I don't
Like,
think they do.
nothing's going to happen. I mean, you're just going to give the bike and the keys to this guy. It's going to change location. They might have some like geofencing
Yep.
that tells them if, oh, it was originally in Cleveland, now it's in California. We
But-
need to like,
If I don't give Nick my passcode or my login, right? If I
Yeah.
go out to that bike and say, okay, I'm selling this bike to Nick, I want to clean all my shit out of that bike, and I hit the reset button on the dashboard of the bike,
yeah.
Nick ain't gonna get all that stuff I paid for.
Mm-mm.
Yeah. So that's
Well,
an interesting-
that's a good question, because when the new owner,
Mhm.
do they have the option of registering it or whatever with
Yeah.
zero.
With zero. Right.
Because I would imagine that all of these upgrades are not hardware upgrades. It's all just software. Every single bike has those features. It's just whether it's unlocked or not. So
You know who would be good to ask about this is somebody who owns a Tesla. Because like if you own a Tesla and you paid for something like a $5,000 option, like ludicrous mode, right? And you paid for that. Well, when you're no longer the owner of that vehicle and it hands off to somebody else and they enter their data onto the screen and say, I'm your new owner, Tesla. This is my email address. This is this is how you hail me when somebody's trying to break in. So if somebody's trying to break into my Tesla, it's not calling the guy that used to own it, right? As soon as I do that, does Tesla go, oh, well, new owner, would you like to purchase ludicrous mode?
I wonder if it's your account. So like, what if you own a Tesla, you purchase ludicrous mode, you use it for 3 years, and then Tesla comes out with a doper model, and you're like, I want that, but I want to keep my account. Do you have to pay $5,000 again to get it again? You know what I mean? Like, or to just transfer with your account? Like,
Right.
when you get a new phone now, all your old shit, if you paid for stuff, it just
Moves
shows
over.
up on your new phone. Yeah.
That's a very, very interesting point because those items that you're purchasing, are you purchasing them as devices or things that you own? Like
Yeah.
a Dungeons and Dragons character, like you're carrying that around in your backpack.
Right.
Right.
It's like an app. Like you bought
Right.
that app. I bought Ludicrous app for
Yep.
Tesla. You know what I mean? Like,
Or is it just, well, I've modified this particular VIN number and that modification goes with that VIN,
yeah.
right? It's a weird, I mean,
something like 2.0. Like I purchased mod 2.0, and the new vehicle is going to need 2.5.
yes.
That's what they'll do. And
Right.
typically
yeah.
now, with everything you buy for wastewater, they have yearly subscriptions. So you have to pay yearly for it. But
Yep.
it also begs, does the Zero have Wi-Fi or does it have just Bluetooth? So is it using your phone to communicate? Like once it connects Bluetooth, does
Yep.
it use the app on your phone to connect to the internet to connect to Zero? So if you sell it and if you keep your Wi-Fi off and your mobile data off, you can still communicate with it, but it can't get out.
Well, Steve, to answer your question, you're absolutely right. It does. So it Bluetooth connects to your phone because there's many things that a Zero owner would want to do through the app on their phone. A lot of things. It's very attractive. So of course you would turn your phone on and you would connect your phone to your bike and you would let your phone acknowledge your bike and vice versa. But as soon as you do that, yes, it is going to go online. It is going to use that Wi-Fi connection. So I guess you might have to turn the Wi-Fi off on your phone before you allow your phone to connect Bluetooth to your bike.
The other thing is firmware updates is a good way to keep people so they come up with a new firmware update. In the old firmware, it expires at a certain point.
Yeah.
So if you don't upload the new firmware, you don't get to keep using it. And if you're a new owner, you can't upload the new firmware because you have to log in and stuff like that. So.
And
That's a huge problem. My friend's a teacher. Phil Ray Hung, and his whole school uses Chromebooks that are 3 years old now, and none of the state testing stuff will work on the Chromebooks that the schools have because those apps have now updated it, and they're using, just like he said, they're using the new version of the operating system, and they won't run on the old one anymore. So he has like 250 Chromebooks. He can't afford to get new ones because he doesn't work at a school that's fairly well off, and so he can't do the testing, and the state's mad at him. What can they do?
He needs to talk to Chris Franklin.
Oh yeah. We should definitely. He would know all that, man.
He needs to talk to Chris Franklin.
Yeah, good point.
So
I'm going to set him up with that. Actually,
that's a good connection to make.
Yeah.
Hey,
He's the right guy.
hey, you want to hear a joke?
Always.
mm-hmm.
A woman goes into a tattoo parlor and tells the tattoo artist that she wants a tattoo of a turkey on her right thigh just below her bikini line. She also wants him to put Happy Thanksgiving under the turkey. So the guy does it, and it comes out looking really good. The woman then instructs him to put a Santa tattoo with Merry Christmas on her left thigh. So the guy does it, and it comes out looking good too. As the woman's getting dressed to leave, the tattoo artist asks, "If you don't mind, Could you tell me why you have me put such unusual tattoos on your thighs? She says, I'm sick and tired of my husband complaining all the time that there's nothing good to eat between Thanksgiving and Christmas.
Nah.
Well, there you go.
Hey, well, we're gonna find out now if this recording is gonna be okay for where it's going.
Nice. Yeah.
So speaking of
I got a
Christmas,
second joke, but I'll hold it till the end.
hold it, because speaking of Christmas, did anybody do their homework that Phil assigned us?
I did assign some homework.
I
Yeah.
did.
All right.
I just sent over a text.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Why
I'll
don't you
look for that.
Talk about it.
Yeah.
It's a podcast.
It is a podcast.
Hi, listeners. Too bad you can't see my test.
Yeah. So what I the one that Chris, I believe the one that Chris sent to me, which is amazing. I'm going to pull it up right to the screen.
Oh, look at the
is
technology of
Yeah.
this.
A remote controlled Abrams tank. Now, if you judge that by the scale of that son of a bitch in the picture, it looks like it's at least 2 feet long.
Yeah, it's 25 inches, man.
25. Oh yeah, that's pretty good. I see
That's
that.
about what, like this?
25 inches.
Yeah.
At our podcast, that's 25 inches.
Right.
Because that's half a foot.
Yeah.
So yeah, holy shit. And the main gun fires 6 millimeter diameter plastic pellets. 6 millimeter, John, is that standard airsoft size?
No, I mean, a standard airsoft BB is going to only be like 2 or 3 millimeters, you know, if you measured the diameter of it. Assuming.
Yeah. Right. Okay. 6 millimeters. That's kind of
about a
chunky.
quarter inch.
But you
That's
can
about a quarter
retrofit it
inch.
with the gun off the Vespa.
Ah! I gotta say, I owned a relatively small, maybe less than a foot long, you know, at least 12 inches long, remote control tank that was not great. I mean, it would go places and would do things, but it wasn't spectacular. That looks pretty fucking spectacular. I mean, you know, for what it's worth. Remote control tank, you have my attention. Nick, what do you think the viability of that product is? Do you think that thing's legit, or do you think that's going to be a hot ball of shit?
Oh yeah, I think it's probably legit. I mean,
Read it more, Nick. It charges only through USB. It has
it's garbage. I didn't read any of it, so
Yeah.
Because you
but I
guys-
mean, that being said, RC tanks have been around for quite a while. So
They sure have,
and
but they're
there's a
usually-
lot of people who do like
Paddles.
electronic combat with it, where it's almost like laser tag with tanks.
right.
Or
But
have you
they
seen
are-
the ones where the tops are they highly detail them with balsa wood? So the bottom of the tank is like a solid, like, you know, the thing. And
Right.
then they build the top of the tank out of balsa wood, like little
Okay.
1/8 inch balsa wood. And
Yeah.
then they have a plate inside that balsa wood thing. So
Yeah.
they have real guns, they shoot real BBs. So
Oh.
these little tanks are driving around blowing BBs at each other.
Yeah.
And when they can get through the balsa wood and hit that plate, it shuts that tank
It's
off.
shut it down.
Yeah, then it goes to, yeah, it's pretty cool.
That's very elaborate, but I know I've done some looking at, you know, gasoline powered and other remote control tanks, and they're bloody expensive.
Oh, yeah.
So something like this, though, I mean, this is for the home gamer. We're talking about under $300.
So I think
So
it'd be fun to play in the back. I'm sure it won't suck completely.
right,
You know,
Oh yeah, and it's freaking huge, so that's
Yeah.
already cool.
What's
2
neat
feet.
is
like 2 feet
Yeah.
long. Yeah,
what's neat now is like even toy remote control stuff doesn't suck. Like,
Right.
you know, 20 years ago, you go to Radio Shack, your thing worked for 4 minutes and it got stuck on a pebble and everything sucked. But now, even the cheap shit at KB toy stores, all right, you know?
Well, Nick, could you tell our podcast listeners about the remote control vehicles that did you restore, or did you resto mod, like upgrade those?
Well, I do a lot of I used to do a lot of, actually Sleepy is way more radio controlled than I ever was.
That's all right.
But
Yeah, you did something I never did. You took a plastic toy and made it new.
Right.
Oh, well,
It's like real
actually-
shit.
that's this Tyco terrain twister.
He had it
And
right
that's
there.
exactly it.
Yeah.
But also, like, I don't know, I just love tinkering with that shit. So it's really fun, I think, to add hobby grade electronics to stuff that was never supposed to last, well, like Sleepy said, longer than a few hours.
The consumer grade stuff was meant to get out from under the Christmas tree.
Yep. That
Whatever
one,
happened-
The
I'll go-
quad runner. What happened to the quad runner you were doing?
Oh,
The
all right.
quad?
Hold on.
I like that Nick's in his garage.
So
You get all the fun.
Right.
I bought this Traxxas Revo, which is a 8 scale monster truck. And then I saw that there was an official Kawasaki licensed like ride on push toy thing.
Right.
And it just happens to be the perfect size.
Oh my God. Look at that.
Yeah.
So
That's
this is still a
fantastic.
work in progress, but
Yeah.
Oh, but you gotta fire that thing up and put a little kid doll on it and just
Oh,
ride
yeah.
it in the street.
Oh no,
Like,
I'm
run it into
no.
people's car, like run it out in front of traffic and stuff.
No,
Have
he
your
needs-
girlfriend run down the street. No.
No, he needs
Oh,
a capuchin monkey. He needs an actual capuchin monkey, which would be the perfect scale.
Putting a doll on this thing and then running it full speed into like a picket fence or something would be spectacular.
Extremely realistic doll. Yeah. With a little audio track that just plays.
Oh, wait, that's the other thing is it makes noises too.
Oh my
My
God.
God.
I'm revved up. Let's get going at 200 scale miles per hour.
Yeah. All I heard when that thing said that was the dude from the fat guy. Fuck, you know that guy that's like, "Come on, Chris, now let's get revved up and going, buddy."
The Family Guy pedophile.
Yeah.
Hey, Merrick, can you hand me the
So,
Milwaukee
John, what'd you come up with?
in the closet? And then hand me the bad one, and then hand me the good one that's on the thing.
Well, for the last 10 years, I've wanted a helmet. But helmet.
But you can't find one in 4X.
No, I mean the one thing. I mean, the one thing that I know I've said it a million times, but the heated grips, those
Yeah.
NOCO heated grips, you can't go wrong. They're awesome. They're not, they're right around the $120 mark. I mean, anybody would be happy to have those.
And if you're going to be out in the snow, you don't put them on your bike, and you can slide things into them and put a 9-volt or a little Legbo battery, and you're solid for a couple hours.
Sure.
Yeah, heated grips is a fantastic gift idea for anybody with a motorcycle.
You could slide those up your Janus and keep it real nice and warm.
Hey.
So Meckelfresh got me addicted a couple of years ago to the Ryobi system. And
I saw you had some Ryobi sitting in the background there.
yeah, so I had been a Milwaukee person for a really long time. I have the larger battery system Milwaukee's, and I have the M12s, the smaller battery system Ryobi's, or Milwaukee. So this was something that I had bought years ago because it uses the M12 battery pack, right? And what I can tell you is this is the world's worst dustbuster. In the history of the planet, there has never been a less effective dustbuster. This will not suck up a kernel of corn if you put the kernel of corn in this business end of it.
Drop it down the entrance.
Yes, and it has the fantasy of having attachment, right? Okay, thanks for our podcast viewers will appreciate this. This is like the Empire Strikes Back, the opening shot of the battle cruiser. It just goes on forever and ever and ever. But the idea of this extension, this 3 foot or 4 foot long extension on this particular device is fantasy, pure fantasy. That's the noise it makes. It makes noise. It does not create any actual vacuum. It just creates noise. Okay? So
It's like a stormtrooper's blaster.
it's useless. It makes noise. It does fuck all. Okay. All it does is drain the life out of M12 batteries. And you can chase around a piece of cat litter for a week and a half. You will not suck it up. And that's the reason I have it. I have it so I can do quick detail cleanups around the litter box. Turns out totally fucking useless. All right. So John gets me addicted to green tools, right? And by green tools, I mean these things. Okay. And that's for people who are reading it backwards, right? That's Ryobi. So, and if you want to read it the other way, it goes that way too. All right. So this thing, on the other hand, this is not the M12 system. And this was designed by somebody who knows something about sucking. This thing will impress you with the amount of shit it can suck up. Here's how you can tell one's good and one's bad. This device is 3 days old. And if you look closely, it's got all kinds of dirt and shit in it, right? It's been used, right? It works. Like we did some modifications to the doorway over there and it works. So this is 3 days old. It's full of garbage. Okay. This son of a bitch, all right? This son of a bitch is like 2-3 years old, and that's all it's got in it, right? And I've never cleaned it because you don't have to empty it if it ain't got nothing in it. So bullshit, like top grade garbage bullshit. And on the other hand, get yourself some fucking green because this thing, wow. I mean, this is a good thing. And then, you can get the different batteries. They have different thicknesses of batteries that have different amounts of electrons in them. So you can suck for longer. You're still going to suck the same strength, but you can suck for longer. In this setup, I got the leaf blower and I got this thing. Now, here's a warning about the leaf blower. They've got like 250 implements that all go to the business end of this battery, right? So warning, they have 2, maybe 3 different leaf blowers. One of their leaf blowers is the Fisher-Price My First Leaf Blower. No,
The audience is laughing.
I'm going to make it very fucking clear to you. It doesn't blow shit. All right. This is like St. Andrew's School for Girls. Nothing's getting blown around that device. It is useless as a blower. Okay. You got the weed whacker. All right.
I got the Fisher Price My First Weed Whacker.
Did that weed whacker also come with the leaf blower?
No, I bought tool only because I already had the battery system.
Right. So I bought this.
But
like
that's a cool thing.
$60.
That's a cool thing about Ryobi. Like
Yeah.
the tools without the battery are relatively cheap.
You can buy the tool for $29.95 and the
Yeah.
battery with the tool and a charger for $51.95 or whatever. So you end up getting a battery and a charger for like $23. But Nick, I'm glad you brought that up because that's the other part of the shit that I bought. I bought that string trimmer. That string trimmer came with the leaf blower. And the string trimmer is my first string trimmer. But the string trimmer is, now that right there.
It's a tire inflator.
Okay. Tell them about that, Nick.
It's garbage.
Yeah. So I've broken 2 of those, but they were cheerfully given back to me. So I had 2 of them that I broke. They don't take a fall. Don't throw it across the garage.
Well, this I use it for autocross because I can drive to a race with my street tire pressure and then inflate to whatever I need it to be. But there's no trigger lock. You can press the trigger and it doesn't stay. So I put a rubber band around it.
Oh, yeah. So I don't have a rubber band. I have a stick. So when I'm filling tires up at the shop, I just find a little stick laying on the ground and I put a piece of stick in there and it jams the trigger open.
Oh, okay. That works too.
But here's what I said. I've had 4 of them now. I've returned 2 of them. John bought me one that, ultimately got sacrificed and I had to return it. And then I bought a couple more. I got one here at the house and one at the shop. They all read 2 to 3 PSI optimistically when you let go of the trigger. So you're inflating it. You go up to 32 PSI, you let go of the trigger 28.5. So you basically have to go to 35, 36 PSI, let go of the trigger at 32. And
that was the whole reason that's why I bought you those. I really like that inflator. I used my buddy's one time and it was so fucking handy.
It's fucking genius. That inflator is God's. So this is my point. Christmas gift. Get your husband, get your boyfriend, get your girlfriend, get your cellmate attracted and attached to the idea of having green tools because Ryobi makes ridiculous numbers of attachments for these things.
I just bought a cordless hot glue gun that uses the same battery. And I have a finish nailer that I use all the time. Yep. It's way easier than using a freaking hammer. So
And I don't know if I can bother Dr. Waters again, but in the top drawer of my accessory cabinet, she's going to bring over my favorite Ryobi device ever. And I've kind of gone through the catalog of finding the things that I'm kind of okay with and the things I really fucking like. But the thing that the Ryobi device that I have now found that
You're gonna have to use your sucker. There's a
tops all of them is this thing. I'll have my lovely assistant Vanna produce it for me. There's my lovely assistant Vanna. And then it's this thing because the battery becomes the weighted base of the son of a bitch. And I love the fact that 90% of the cordless charging, soldering irons that I have are butane powered. and therefore their heat goes from 0 to 1200, 12,000 degrees like that, and you're invariably burning your fingers all the time. This son of a bitch is consistent, and it's as good as the battery is. So this thing, and I think this might have been $23 or $29 if you already have the batteries. So these green tools, holy shit, you talk about stocking stuffers. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice.
Yeah, whatever your husband's into, he can get into it with one of those.
I had my two things, and going
Yeah.
to your air pump thing. One, Chris Smith has mine, I think, is Moto pumps. So it's a small little pump that plugs into a SEA connection, so like your battery tender connection and stuff. It has protection on it, so if you fuck it up or something, it won't blow your battery up. It'll take the hit. But it's saved me. It's blown up tires. It's great. It fits under most seats of most motorcycles and stuff. It's great. That was the thought of that. But the biggest one for me, and this is probably affordable, so like this is legit. If you have a motorcyclist in your life, you can never have enough of these. But if your husband or wife is a motorcyclist and they're outside fucking around with ratchet straps and they're hating themselves trying to take their bike somewhere, get them a good set. Honda makes them. Other people make them. I'm sure Phil can tell you from his shop. Non-ratcheting, pull, like just little, like thick, nice with the strap that goes over the handlebar and through the hoop. Like they're actual motorcycle non-ratcheting tie-down straps. That's the best thing I've ever. I moved 8 bikes last week in 3 days, from little ones to 850s and all that stuff on my little 4x7 trailer, and I had no problems. Not one bike got loose, not one bike moved, not one bike did anything. And it's so easy. It takes like 4 seconds to put them on, pull them in. There's none of that crap of like trying to figure out if you got the thing right and you're ratcheting and you catch your finger. It's a game changer. Like you guys told me that a couple years ago. I mean, I think Phil, you told me that. I was like, it can't be that much better. I don't know. Can I trust these things? Trust them. They are great. They're the best thing ever, man. So
There's a company called Moose, and if you're not into dirt bikes, you're not familiar with Moose. But if you are into dirt bikes, you're familiar with Moose. Moose, like the like the animal, and Moose makes probably the best cam lock tie down straps in the world, because at the business end that hooks up to your truck has got an actual carabiner on it.
Yeah, that's what I have. Yeah, it's great.
So carabiner. So it's got a carabiner on the end of it. And then the other end of it has got the hook, the traditional rubberized hook, but also with a soft strap. So you can double it over your handlebars and make sure that's not going anywhere. Having the carabiner on the south end is fucking important, because when you go over a set of railroad tracks or come in or out of a driveway hot, and that bike does move a little bit on its suspension, you don't want that hook that's going in the eyelet on your trailer or your truck to let go.
Nope.
So having the carabiner on the end makes a fucking big difference. And those Moose straps come 2 to a pack. You can get them in many fruit flavors and various colors, and they're not expensive. I mean, under $30 a set.
And you know what else is pretty cool about the carabiner thing? I haven't had a bike yet where when I pull the other end down, I couldn't put the loose end into the carabiner, and now you don't have a floppy end. Yeah, it's
very good.
Unbelievable, man. And
That's a fucking great gift.
Yeah, and it's affordable. You know, you're talking what, $50 maybe or something like that. And I guarantee you, in fact, if you get that for your spouse and they don't like them, you can tell them to write me a hate mail, because I don't know anybody that wouldn't think they're great.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You could send them to me and I'll take them off your hands for free.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or just get a better spouse.
Yeah, right.
That's just it. If somebody doesn't appreciate getting a set of tie-down straps, fuck them. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah, I agree. Anyone else got any good gifts?
Steve did, but he fell asleep.
I know he did. Yeah. He assured us 5 minutes ago that he wasn't sleeping, but here we are. And here we are looking at nothing.
You know what's going to have to come into play when I edit this is the pink dildo.
Yeah, there's going to be a pink dick of shame going over there. That's exactly what happens. So we're going to the US Virgin Islands for our Christmas break.
Whoa.
So we're going to be heading down there probably on like the 18th or so. And one of the funniest things is I really wanted to make sure that, you know, at some point on the trip we were on motorcycles, right? Not just laying on a beach drinking cocktails. But the reading reviews of people that are talking about, like, should I rent a motorcycle on the US Virgin Islands? First of all, on the US Virgin Islands, you pay with US dollars, check. The cars you all rent are normal American cars with the steering wheel where it should be. Yet on the islands, you drive on the left, even though they're the US Virgin Islands. Now, let's take a trip 12 miles away and go to the British Virgin Islands, and they drive on the left, and they take American dollars as the main form of currency. And their cars have the steering wheels wherever the fuck they might be. But the point being that in the US Virgin Islands, you drive on the left side of the road. And based on everything we've seen, the roads are all too narrow for two cars to pass each other at the same time. Everybody that's had an opinion of riding a motorcycle on the US Virgin Islands has said, don't do it. It's a bad fucking idea. And there's nowhere you can rent anything on the US Virgin Islands that isn't a scooter or a dirt bike. So I've rented us a dirt bike for our time for a few days on the island. We'll see how that goes. Yeah. So I'm excited
Phil,
about it.
Hey, Phil, let me give you a heads up on the U.S. Virgin Islands, St. Thomas.
Yeah.
There is a dive center called Aqua Action Dive Center.
Yeah. You were mentioning that.
Yeah, the people that own it are from Lakewood, Ohio.
Yeah.
So they will hook you up if you
That
say
sounds
that
very cool.
that used to have a shop in Lakewood and all that other kind of stuff. They're very
Oh, that's
cool.
fantastic.
Yeah. So for
Just
all our
don't mention
listeners-
Smith. If you mention Smith, all bets are off and you get double charged.
They're
Well,
going to give
that's-
you a snorkel that smells funny.
Well, that's mention my name and they're looking for Mrs. Smith down in the deep end.
That's fantastic. So did you know them before they went down to the USVI, or did you meet them that way?
We found out about them from another friend of mine who lived down there for about 5 years.
Oh,
So,
wow. Cool.
Yeah, so these folks are very cool, and they'll hook you up with a lot of different event people if you want to go deep sea fishing or
Right.
any of the things that are available down there. But they're very cool people.
Yeah, there's a number of things I want to hit, and most of them are bars. Bars where, stuff like, where the painkiller was invented on, Joost van Dyke in the British Virgin Islands. So there's places that I have to go because of that.
Make sure you look up the oldest bar on the island.
There you go.
So you can never go wrong going to the
You never
oldest
go wrong.
bar. It's been
Yeah. Yeah, I was we were in Ensenada, I did that, and I went to a bar called Husong's in Ensenada, Mexico. And it was the oldest bar. Now I can't recall whether it was the oldest bar in Mexico or the oldest bar in, like the Tijuana, greater Tijuana area kind of thing. But I went to a bar called Husong's and it was fucking fantastic. Like you could get your boots shined while you were sitting at the bar drinking a beer. So that's the kind of service you don't get at most establishments. No, it was legit, Steve. Don't do the boot shine air quotes thing. Sometimes shine your boot.
But did they have the donkey show?
No, I told you about the donkey show. You can go to the donkey show, but you're not going to see the donkey show.
Right.
Yeah. You'll pay the money to get in, but you're not going to see the donkey show. Just in time for the donkey show, the police are going to show up magically. Right. Yeah. Happens at every donkey show I've ever gone to. Or more technically accurately, the Burro show. Yeah.
So do you think because like it is theater, right?
Yes. Right.
So if you applied for, like, if we in Cleveland, we're going to throw a party and
Yes.
we're like, we go to the downtown, we're like, listen, we need a permit for this event. By the way, it's a blah, blah, whatever. Would they
Right.
let it happen? Would they like, could you do, because you're not doing anything wrong, right?
No.
It's just the theater of the mind.
Isn't it was it Barnum and Bailey? Was it Barnum and Bailey that created the whole, like, there's a sucker born every minute kind of thing, and
Yeah.
that they had big posters and big signs that said this way to the egress, as though the egress were some sort of mythical creature. And so you'd be like, oh my God, we want to go see the egress. Oh yes, let's go see the egress. By all means, have you seen the egress? And you'd follow the signs and it would just take you out of the tent. So,
Yeah.
Every minute a sucker's born.
Exactly right. I mean, like, there's that idea is that we're never going to give you the salacious. There's never going to be the payoff that you think there's going to be with most carnies. Like with most carnival sideshows, you're like world's strongest man or the hairiest woman or whatever, and you realize it's just a Sasquatch in a bra. There's nothing special going on. It's everybody's looking to rip you off in some way. So that's the idea. But I can tell you, as a guy in the military, there are some shows you go and you pay money to see, and you'll see some shit that you're never going to see ever again. There's other shows where you pay money and you realize you're just part of the economy, and that everyone gets chased out the back door. I used to well, used to. I successfully played 3-card Monte one time in New York City. It was a life goal of mine to play 3-card Monte and to win, because you're not supposed to be able to win. The idea is if you look like you're winning or you look like you know what's up, then one of them says, "Oh shit, it's the cops," and everybody fucks off and takes your money.
Right.
And I was anticipating that, and I've studied it for years. And so I was able to play 3-card Monte and got the bidding, got the price of the game up to about $200. And when I got the price of the game up to about $200 and they'd set their trap, then I just grabbed all my money off the table as soon as they said, "Oh, the cops are coming," and they grabbed the folding card table to fuck off. And I grabbed my money real quick, and I went that way and they went that way. But that was a life goal of mine, was to, play 3-card Monte in New York, as a victim would.
Mhm.
So yeah, I leaned into it really hard for the first 2 rounds and made sure they understood I was a victim. And then got the numbers up high enough, and then I fucked off. So life goals, but Burrow shows the same thing. It's all about the timing. But in the Burrow show, you're never going to get to see what you showed up for.
That sucks.
No, somebody's going to get fucked.
Just not the
Look around in the room, and it's all you.
That's great.
It was a good, again, cool experience, and I was impressed at their savvy. Like they were showmen. They had us. They literally lured us in. They got everybody all fired up, and it was super cool. And then when the door got kicked in and the cops showed up and came in, and everybody got scared out into the alley and fucked off, and the door locked behind us. Well, there you go. That's theater. That might be worth your $50 or 500 pesos or whatever it was. Yeah.
I have a motorcycle question for you. So, this is going to sound dumb, but this guy, so I don't have money. I'm not buying anything, but you're always looking and whatever, we're bored, especially, well, not the last 4 days, but before that, when I was kind of sick, I was bored. I was on the line. So there's a dude in Cleveland that's selling a 2003 Sportster 1200, 5,000 miles, $1,500, really nice condition. And it says, like, lost the title, blah, blah. This is not stolen. You can get the title from the blah, 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 whatever. So, like, obviously, like, it sounds like a scam. I'm not, whatever, but
100% not stolen.
Right. Well, that's my point. So, like, obviously it probably is a scam and it's
Right.
stolen, whatever. But say it wasn't, and say the guy was this older dude, whatever, and he lost the title. Yeah. Like, you can't get that from the Ohio. He's like, I have paperwork to get it from the Ohio State Patrol or some shit like that.
Nope.
That's a completely fictitious statement, right?
Yep, absolutely. In our particular state, not talking to many of the other states. So first of all, what year was the bike?
2003, I think, around there.
Okay. So it's way the fuck under 25 years old, right? So it's way the fuck under 25 years old. So nobody's going to be able to pull, a joke like a Vermont title or something else because the bike's really, really old. That's not going to be the way it goes. What you're going to have to do is you're going to have to try to get a bonded title, or you're going to have to try to get a salvage title, which good luck. You're going to have to try to get a mechanics.
Oh shit. Nope. 96. I found it. I sent it to John. Look.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's going to come through.
Oh yeah. There you go. Yeah. Yep. That's a 96.
Yeah. So
yeah, you're in the window. I don't know if you'd still be, I don't think you can get a Vermont for it. I think you might be able to get, Joe Casola might be able to help you out. But again, what I can tell you is whoever put that ad up has gotten a lot of fucking attention.
Oh, I can't even imagine what his inbox would be like.
Yep.
I was more interested in it for the story. Like, is this even possible? You know what I mean? Because like, obviously I just went through a salvage title. I know what kind of pain, not that big of a pain, but still it's an effort. You know what I mean? Like, so I didn't know if it was the same kind of thing. Like, you just had to go get it, the VIN run, do, whatever or whatever. So,
I've got a couple Ohio license plate. I could sell this guy.
Nice.
But yeah,
I paid less
obviously
than that for the Sportster 1200 that James is riding around on right now, and it was legit owned, titled, whatever. You just got to find the right seller.
Yeah,
because they're not worth a ton of money.
no.
And his, James's bike is a lot newer than that 96. But that's not far off of Kelly Blue Book when you take away the coronavirus 2021 inflation. Right now, the coronavirus 2021 inflation means that if you've got a running fucking, CL360, it's worth $19,000.
Yeah.
it's a bad time right now. It's a really bad time to be like, I have to buy a truck or I have to buy a motorcycle.
Yeah.
We were looking at trying to buy a transit before the January 1st because of tax reasons. And, if I can buy a transit, that's a nice deduction on my taxes. And the only one I could find was in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And it was $12,000 over sticker.
Jeez.
Yeah, 12 grand over sticker. So that gives you an idea. And the sticker, by the way, for Fords has the destination charges already in it.
Yeah.
So the destination charges, $1,300 are already in the sticker of the vehicle. So there was 12 grand made of just pure greed,
I've been watching the Broncos, and like they're $81,000. They're listed. They retail at $38,000. No, to actually buy one, it's $81,000.
They had a story on the news the other day. This is the first time in history that if you leased a car a couple years ago and you don't need the lease anymore,
right?
You can beat the dealer by buying your lease out because
of course,
because they're locked in at the price, and you could get it and probably make $4 or $5 grand on that car in a day.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, Hofford, if he wasn't asleep, Hofford.
Yeah, Carvana offered me $29,000 for my truck I bought 2 years ago for $30,000.
There you go.
Oh, yeah. Same
I
here.
want to get my fire truck.
Well, same here with Carvana. Like they were offering, like, if you had a 2020 or newer Veloster N, they were offering like $35,000 for it. And it's like, well, that's a tough deal to turn down.
That's a very tough deal to turn down. That's an incredibly difficult deal to turn down. And the idea, when I sold that Tundra recently, that truck was a $4,000 truck.
But wait, Nick, did you disclose that it has a 1981 or 1980 Suzuki mirror sticking out of the side of it?
They didn't ask.
No, that was an upgrade. He didn't reveal the Carvana.
Gotcha.
And an air vent.
Right. It had some positive pressure ventilation going on.
It's a mod.
Yeah, it is a really bad time to buy anything new.
Or used for that matter.
Or used for that. Yeah, that's right. This is a really, really good time to not have to buy something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, because I gave up on it. I was like, well, whatever I could get in the way of a tax benefit isn't worth the extra money I'm going to pay to get it. So if I'm going to pay if I'm going to pay $5,000 over what I should be paying to buy something, there's no way I'm going to get more than a $5,000 differential in my taxes by doing that. So fuck that. I'll wait.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in a good position. I've got a perfectly good Econoline 350 and I've got a perfectly good pickup truck, So I've got the things I need to haul shit. So, yeah, but this is not the time to have to buy something. We got Merritt's car back from the shop. Her clutch failed, mysteriously. And
You broke it.
Okay, so maybe I did break it. I might have broke it. I didn't know you could break a clutch. I honestly never thought that you could break a clutch. I figured that whatever went from my foot to the clutch was made out of titanium and like all kinds of heavy duty shit. Turns out it's not.
The slave usually goes first.
I broke the shit out of it. So I broke the master on the clutch, like the whole assembly, even buying it direct from Hyundai.
Oh, you broke the assembly of it. Oh.
I broke the shaft that hooks the pedal to the master.
Oh, how'd you do that?
Pushed it really hard. Well, Merritt was driving an associate home from work, and she noticed her clutch pedal went to the floor and didn't come back up again.
Oh.
So she towed it up. She got it up off the floor because she's fucking awesome. And she got it up off the floor and she was able to get the clutch back to working again. Right. Mm-hmm. So she could get rid of this associate of hers with some degree of dignity. And then she got back in the car and she was driving the car home and she realized that it got stuck again. Mm-hmm. So then when I went out to the car, and we're not talking about an old car. This is like a 2016 with 40,000 miles on it. When I went out, I grabbed it and pulled the pedal up and it was hard as a fucking rock. It was at the top, no play, 0 fucks given. So I was like, well, I'm just going to push it really hard. So they put a plastic shaft in there so that when you're in a crash, the clutch pedal doesn't amputate your leg. The clutch pedal can go to the floor because the plastic rod is, less thick or less strong than your tibia. So that's why it broke. So I broke it. So But like I said, I got to drive it to the shop with no clutch, which is fun.
Yeah.
You know, that makes you feel good about things. Yeah. Anytime you drive a vehicle, like John drove a Corvette home with no clutch.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah,
How'd you,
it was,
how
I
did you
mean,
start the car without being able to depress the clutch? Doesn't it have a sensor? That,
okay. Well, you depress the clutch,
You
but
depressed
you depress the clutch, but the clutch is not disengaging the clutch. So you have it in gear. So you turn the key, the starter turns the motor over, you start moving, and it starts.
it's a
And
hybrid.
It's
Yeah.
a hybrid. It is a 12-volt, one battery hybrid.
And John, that wasn't a 15-minute ride, was it?
I was down from the Metro Parks back to my house. I mean,
Yeah.
several stops,
Oh,
intersection.
I thought you brought it home from New York or wherever you got it.
No. This was
Oh.
afterward.
I took
Okay.
mine from my house to North Ridgeville. It's a solid 30-minute drive.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I managed to catch a couple of lights, and I was just like, okay, well, this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna slap it into neutral, right?
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
shut the car off, because if the motor's running, forget trying to put it in gear even at an idle, right? So fuck that. So you shut the car off as you're coming up to the light, slap it into neutral, and then slap it into second and use the key to get it going. And then just pull away from the light on the hybrid, and then just give it some gas and she'll pull right away. It's remarkable. Yeah. It's
Yeah,
almost like
rabbit.
you could drive the car that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
It's
had a
funny.
Rabbit, and I couldn't get the linkage into reverse
Okay.
if it was running.
Yeah.
So to back out of spaces, I would put it into reverse when it was off, and then just turn the key and back out, and then I would.
Did you guys hear that Speedway sold a bunch of people diesel instead of gasoline?
Oh no.
Oh no.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
mentioned
one
that.
of them. So I got 10 gallons of diesel when I should have got 10 gallons of gasoline.
Oh,
And
man.
this all happened at like 11 o'clock at night when I was trying to move the vehicles around so Merritt would have something more fun to drive to work in the morning than a 1996 Toyota Hiace van. So when
That's fun.
after I broke her clutch. So I thought it'd be nice if I gave her my Pajero, because my Pajero, is a little more nice to drive, and air conditioning works and heater works and whatever, right? And so I took the Pajero down to Speedway, and I mean, it was doing push-ups on the E. I was out of gas. So I pulled into Speedway, and I'd kind of heard some fuel pump noise on that thing for a little while. So I was anticipating the fuel pump could shit the bed at any moment. And so when I went to Speedway, filled it up, put 10 gallons in it, because that's all it holds, drove out of Speedway, made it to the middle of the intersection, and the fucker died. And fortunately, it was really late at night, 11:30 midnight. So I was able to use the key to get it into a parking space in an adjacent parking lot where I left it, and figured I would just have to go back there and rescue it with one of my other vehicles, inappropriately small vehicle usually, and went back. But I had heard a thing on the news that said that Speedway had fucked up and sold a whole lot of people diesel instead of gas. And it was the Speedway that I had just got gas from.
Ooh.
So yeah, I was a victim of that. So I got 10 gallons of diesel where I should have got gas.
What are they doing?
So what they're doing is they're paying for it. However it is you would normally get things fixed. I fixed it myself in an ingenious method I don't want to reveal to the public, but there is a way that you can get 10 gallons of diesel out of your gas tank and into a 5-gallon bucket under your vehicle. It involves starting fluid and a lift. So if you have starting fluid and a lift, you can use the vehicle itself to pump 10 gallons of diesel out in a pretty fast fashion into 5-gallon buckets. And if anyone needs some diesel, I have 2 5-gallon buckets of diesel that is probably at least 93% diesel, 7% gas. Yeah.
I need it for a garage heater, so no.
And you're good. Yeah,
Oh,
you're
really?
good. 10
With the
gallons.
gas in it?
What's that?
With the gas in it, won't it like blow up or something?
Only a small amount of gas.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Only a small amount. Yeah. I mean, I paid for 10 gallons of diesel, and I have 2 5-gallon buckets that aren't all the way full of diesel. Now, the diesel smells like sheep, but that's a different story.
It would have been way worse though had they been selling gasoline
Out
instead
of the diesel
diesel.
pumps.
Mm.
You're
Because that
absolutely
would
right.
have run. They would have run until your engine blew up, probably.
Yep. Yeah. If they would have been selling gasoline out of a pump that said diesel, that could really fuck your world up. But being as it is, they sold diesel into gas cars. I did fill Merritt's Figaro up the next morning at like 9:30, 10 o'clock. So about 11 hours later, I had filled Merritt's car up. The good news is her car didn't get fucked up. So she dodged the bullet. So, or I dodged the bullet. I was the one who had to fix it anyway. So
So
yeah.
you laid a teaser the other day, and then you never answered it. You said you listened to the last Misfits podcast, and they had their list of top 10 super bikes.
Yes. Okay. Why would you do that? Okay. I'm gonna, if you guys are interested, I'd like to give you the top one list. I'm gonna give you the top one list of things that are no fun to listen to. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
The top one list of things that are no fun to listen to. At position 1 on the list, top 10 lists.
What's number 2?
It's poo. That's what we call poo.
So how wrong did they get it this time?
Empirically. So here's a rule for other podcasts and general journalism. If your name's Cam and you write car articles or whatever, the rule is this: if you're going to have a top 5 list or a top 3 list or a top 10 list, and by the way, the more numbers there are after the word top, the less interesting it is. So I recommend limiting your top list to 3. Also, keep in mind, it's a good idea to have fucking criteria.
Mm-hmm.
Criteria is really important. So
Lots
having
of criteria.
What's that?
Lots of criteria.
Right. That's
Lots
the
and lots
one
and
thing.
lots of criteria.
That's the one thing that they lack with these lists is any sort of, okay, what are we judging these bikes on?
Somebody has a great idea and says, we're going to say the top 10 super bikes. And then they shut the fuck up. Well, you can't just do that.
Right.
Because
Two-stroke, 4-stroke, 250, 1. I mean, there's so many different things. Or it doesn't matter. Does it not matter? Like, yeah, you're right.
and if you don't give me criteria, what am I going to do? I'm going to say your top 10 list is bunk because one of them is going to be the top and the other 9 are going to be not the top.
Did they even define, is this streetable or just anything?
I will recommend that you listen to the podcast.
I was going to, but yeah.
I guarantee if you are in a place where you can throw things at your radio, you might.
Who was the
Emma
biggest
nails it
offender?
because Emma nails it because Emma says, look, there is the term superbike, which to me, superbike means 1,000 cc's or better. Because in my world, there is a class called superbike.
Right.
And it's defined by the definition of how many cc's are in the vehicle. There's super sport and there's superbike.
Right.
One of them has 600 cc's, one of them has 1,000 cc's or better, depending on how many cylinders you have.
Right.
But superbikes are a very clearly defined category.
Mhm.
But then, like, that somebody says, oh, well, Cycle World's going to give the top 10 superbikes of all time. One of them's going to be a Honda CB750, right? Because by law, you have to tip your fucking hat to the first company that coined the term superbike, right?
Or the KZ's in there somewhere too.
Exactly. So the point is, unless you give me a whole shit ton of criteria, like best superbike between 1969 and 1972 that came out of Japan that was available in blue, right? Then maybe we can have an argument or a discussion. But as long as the phrasing is just like, what's the best superbike?
At least they had like modern. I mean, are we talking modern or are we talking old? I mean, like a little bit of something.
C70. It's my vote.
Passport.
Steve's gonna write a book.
70. Best superbike ever.
Steve's gonna write a book and get all these pre-orders. It's gonna be the greatest motorcycles in the history of the world, from 1937 or whatever to 2000 and beyond. And it's gonna be one page. GT70.
It's gonna be one really thick page. It's gonna look like the ultimate
Piece of
motorcycle
wood.
guide. It's gonna be a giant coffee table book. It's gonna have one fucking page in it. You'll open it up and it'll be a pop-up Passport 70.
I actually did a little bit of research on it. I mean, I approached it the way I would.
Yeah.
And I said, well, if I'm going to talk about a superbike, it's going to be a Honda. So then I was like, well, let's see what's the greatest superbike.
Right.
And what they're talking about is the new Honda Fireblade for 2021 that they're coming out with.
Yeah.
Honda's actually hasn't done anything since 2008 with the Fireblade.
Right.
And they're getting ready to mount an effort to take the top place in the superbike this next coming year or so. They want to knock Ducati off its throne.
Right.
So
And
they're
I
talking
believe in
about-
in their discussion, they said like they gave a nod, like they said, like the Honda Hurricane 1000 for, one of the top 10 super bikes.
Not
But
even close.
not even
And
close.
I like that bike, but that's
I
not
love
even
it.
close.
Not
It
even
was a sport touring bike.
well, that and in its day, the Hurricane was the civilian version. So
Right,
Right.
right.
like, the Hurricane was the bike that we could buy. It
That's
didn't
not-
have the RC in front of it. So
There's no RC. No, yeah.
yeah.
No, I mean right now I mean the one of the baddest ass super bikes is going to be the CBR 1000 RR-R,
Right.
and then some other shit after that. Like
Some extra
holy
R's
shit.
after it.
They should have
Well,
just
then it
called
was
it the Pirate, man.
Yeah, it was like then it's like a PS of something other like crazy.
The point
But the
being,
bike's amazing. The bike's
Right.
amazing. I mean, 214 rear wheel horsepower
Right.
with every rider aid available to
Yeah.
known demand and like ridiculous.
yeah. I think one of the things they said was like they were like, oh, the Yamaha R1. And I was like, well, the only thing better than a Yamaha R1 will be whatever Yamaha they come out with next year. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
so the top 10 super bikes is going to be easy. It's going to be whatever the current best super bike is,
Bikes,
I mean,
Right.
this year it's the Ducati, whatever Panigale or whatever.
Yeah,
That's
sure. I mean,
whatever they're racing
again,
right now.
it's a very easy
Right.
easy category, because if you say, like we said in our thing, the best, and if we're going to say the best, or what is the best super bike, well,
I have
know, I
a
know-
really-
when you start using modifiers like in its day,
in its
Stuff
day,
and it's not the best.
but I have an interesting question. So you had said, the Hondas that we can get, it doesn't have an RC in front of it.
Right.
So was the RC 51 one of the first and only like actual race bikes that people could buy?
no, not at all. I'm going to say that I know that the RC 51 absolutely was an excellent bridge between a purchasable super bike and an actual piece of track hardware.
Mhm.
But remember that for a lot of years, homologation had meant that certain companies, like in order to get your bike on the track, you had to sell a couple 150 of them, right? So there were a lot of years where, different racing organizations had mandated that some of these vehicles got sold to the public, or the public had the ability to buy them.
Mhm.
Now, they might have been fuck off expensive, you should literally only be buying this if you are going to be putting it on the track, but there was nothing to prevent you from buying it and driving it to work every day. It had turn
That's like
signals.
stock car, right? It was
What's
like
that?
stock cars. Like
Yeah.
the original stock car races, you used to be able to buy something that was close to what they were racing. And that to me was real stock car racing.
And
Mhm.
over
Not
the
some
years,
plastic.
yeah, and over the years, I mean, nobody's going to be able to buy a rear-wheel drive Toyota Corolla, like they don't make a rear-wheel drive Toyota Corolla, yet they race it in stock car racing, obviously. But for many years,
Well,
in
they
a lot of
did,
the racing
didn't they?
organizations, homologation was important. So
Yes,
The Celicas
Steve,
were
there was
originally-
a rear-wheel drive Corolla, the original one.
the very first Corolla.
The drift Corolla.
No, but the original Celicas were rear-wheel
Yes,
drive.
they were. Absolutely. Yep. Yeah,
They were
but
very cool,
that
too.
was the thing, is there weren't too many rear-wheel drive Ford Tauruses or whatever
Right,
else
oh,
was
yeah,
considered to be
true,
a stock
yeah.
car.
Yeah, Ford was racing a Taurus. I was like, it's not even close to. It's not a Taurus at all. It's
Yeah, but the whole
it's
idea
a-
was, you win on Sunday, you sell on Monday.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go into the Ford dealership and be like, wow, that Taurus really did great at, Daytona or whatever.
I like the burnout when it was doing the burnout. Can this one do that?
Sign me up for the SHO, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, that's the funny thing is we had a number of listeners and Patreons kind of let us know that the Misfits had done another top 10 list. And it's funny because our Patreons are just like, do you know what's happening on another podcast? I'm like, yeah, well, I listen to it too. So but it is funny because I think there's a little bit of joy anytime the Misfits do something and then we get to fire salvos back at each other.
I got
So,
a funny story. I was in the car because going to my house, those 4 trips before I got sick, that was 4 trips is 410 miles, 420 miles round, all together. Right.
Right.
So I was listening to the Misfits podcast and somehow on Spotify, I fucked it up and it went to 0.75 speed. but I didn't know it. And
Oh.
so I'm sitting there, and Liza's like, today on the, I'm like, God damn, they're all stoned, man. And then like, David came on.
I listened to a lot of podcasts at 1.5.
Yeah, now I know I can do that, but I didn't
Right.
even know that was an option. So I'm like, what the fuck happened to these people? They sound fucking
I don't listen to
crazy.
the Misfits at 1.5 because I like them all, like because they're
Yeah.
all, I consider them to be my friends.
Right.
And I don't listen to them at 1.5 because like they had Henry on. So Henry hasn't been on for a long time.
Yeah.
And so they had Henry on, and I love Henry's voice. Like it really makes me feel good to hear him. And there was no way I would want to listen to the Misfits podcast at 1.5.
Well, I can tell you at 0.75, it's a lot longer. And
It's almost like one of our podcasts.
yeah, and they all sound super stoned, man. It was hilarious.
It makes perfect sense. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think we're gonna listen to that one at regular real time,
Yeah.
at regular speed.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. So I got all these bikes put into the warehouse, and I spent some time over at the warehouse. And you guys have seen my warehouse and kind of seen what I'm working with. It's full. It's full, legit full. I'm very proud of the number of people who decided to use us for winter storage this year. We have pumped. I've gone back to the dock 5 times to get more boat gas. And the guy at the dock thinks I'm insane. I keep showing up with these little micro trucks with, 7 5-gallon cans in the back. And he's like, what are you doing with this? And I was like, well, we're putting it in the winter bikes. He goes, how many fucking winter bikes do you have? I'm like, oh, well, it's not just my bikes. It's everybody else's bikes too. So it's funny.
How much are you paying per gallon there?
It's so it's $5.19 right now.
It was $3.99 out there at that Strongsville Marathon.
Yes. Yeah. It's $4 at the Strongsville Marathon. The boat gas, you're going to pay more. They're all the same though. I think they're all that 90 octane. So
Yeah,
yep.
It was 90 octane, no ethanol.
Yep. Yeah. So that's a really good price. $3.99, $4 a gallon for 90 octane, no ethanol. It's a really good price. Yeah. Because the boat dock charges you a little bit more. Yep. But yeah, I don't give a damn.
Anything that has to do with boats, police, fire, motorcycles. It's always more.
That's exactly right. And there's only one dock in Cleveland that still has their pumps available that doesn't have their pumps all wrapped up. So it's like, that gives you an idea of like where you are, where you're going to go if you're out on the water at this time of the year. There's only one place that's going to be able to give you gas outside of the restaurant at the end of the shoreway. But the boat dock, if you want gas, you're going to be going to Edgewater. That's the spot. So I feel kinship though, because we sold him a K truck. Like we sold him a little Subaru Sandbar. So he uses that to run around and put motors and boats and shit. So I feel like he owes it to me to stay open and sell me gas. So, there's a little loyalty there. But yeah, it's fun. But it was fun going to the warehouse because we had a beautiful day yesterday and like the weather was just fantastic.
What's the temperature up there?
Yesterday it was really nice. Now it's 39 degrees. So, we're done
50,
with that.
50 plus yesterday.
It was 50 plus yesterday. Yeah, I was riding bikes around and, moving shit all over the place. And it was good because we had rain the night before that washed the salt off the roads. So yesterday was golden. If you had to move bikes around, yesterday was the day to do it. So,
I like that the Rec 90 gas actually smells like real fuel.
Yeah.
It was a little extra strong and everything. It leaked out a little bit while I was driving home with Peggy and Grandma in the car, and I was like,
Did you rub it all over your face?
oh yeah, I got something.
this is what gasoline used to smell like, kids.
Like, ooh, it's got some meat to it.
It does have some meat to it.
Spicy.
John stopped at a bar and some 72-year-old like feisty old biker lady came up and was like, I remember you.
You smell good.
Yeah.
Put a little dab behind each ear.
Yeah.
Find the good girls.
Hey, you want to hear a joke?
Oh,
Sure.
So a sexually active woman tells her plastic surgeon that she wants her vaginal lips reduced in size because they're too loose and floppy.
Okay.
Out of embarrassment, she insists that the surgeon keep a secret, and the surgeon agreed. So awakening from anesthesia after the surgery, she found 3 roses carefully placed beside her on her bed. Outraged, she immediately calls the doctor. I thought I asked you not to tell anybody about my operation. The surgeon told her that he carried out her wish for confidentiality and that the first rose was from him because he felt sad that she had to go through that all by herself. The second rose is from my nurse. She assisted me in the surgery and empathized because she had had the same procedure done some time ago. And what about the third rose? Asked the patient. Well, that's from the man upstairs in the burn unit. He wanted to thank you for his new ears.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you.
Is that a good one or what?
Yes, that's
was
all right.
great.
Man.
That was a good joke.
But now there's got to be a follow up, like something about his ears, right?
No,
Like,
I just said I couldn't hear you.
no, I got that.
That's it.
Just leave it there. Leave
I
it
couldn't
there.
hear you. That's it. We're done. Good job, Chris. That was well played.
Yeah,
Excellent. I like that.
yeah, that was all right.
So you do know that if we get the Build Back Better plan, if that happens, it's going to be a 30% federal tax credit on your electric vehicle purchases.
Yeah.
Which if you buy a $20,000 electric motorcycle, you're going to get fucking $6,000 back. That's the same as buying a $14,000 electric motorcycle. And that's still a fucking expensive electric motorcycle.
No, more
The idea
importantly,
of getting $6,000 back is wild.
that makes it so. Like a lot of times, people say come into your shop and they're like, "Oh man, look at that FSR or whatever," right? And it's that price, and you can't get it. So they take the $14,000 gas bike that they can afford that's similar, right? Now that's an even playing field. Now with that credit, now you can really be like, holy shit, I can take the FXR home or whatever.
Right. Yeah. It's really it's a hell of a thing. Getting that big of a rebate, that's fucking huge. That's a lot of money.
If that goes through, I will definitely be buying whatever the cheapest zero you have because my work commute now is 18 miles.
Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a $10,000 bike, an $11,000 bike, but you're going to get $3,000 off of that.
That's what I'm saying.
So
How
you're
can I
back,
not do that? I'd never have.
you're into the
gas.
6,000, 7,000 territory, right?
Yeah, I'd have nothing into that driving to work and back every single day with
Every
nothing,
single
like
day.
nothing.
Right. Yeah. So, and we've got a lot of zero customers who have way the fuck over 10,000, way over 20,000 miles on their bikes.
Mhm.
So it's not like you're not going to eventually get your money back. You will eventually get your money back. It's just, that's that fucking rebate. That's a hell of a lot of money.
Mhm.
Yeah. That's a significant amount of cash.
So
So
it's a tax credit.
it's a tax credit. Exactly. Yep. So that's exactly right. So that's you're going to pay the dealer the full 11 grand or whatever your bike's going to cost you. And then you're going to have your invoice, and whatever your invoice says, 30% of that is what you're going to get back on. I think it's the form 179 or something like that through your taxes. Yeah.
Well, that'd be worth. I mean, if you could, if I could trade in the FXS.
Yep.
And get that, then that would bring it down to the FXS money.
Yes, it would.
I mean,
Yeah.
that would be worth it.
It's a real, that's a serious thing. That's going to get some people thinking, it's different. I'm not going to quote anything on the electric cars or trucks or anything else. I'm not well versed with that. I don't know what the offers are with the four-wheeled vehicles, but they've opened it up to certain electric bicycles. Now it's at a much lower pay point on the electric bicycles. So it's going to be different, but for things like a $10,000 or $11,000 zero, holy shit, that's a lot of money,
Even if you're looking at a electric bike, they're like $3,500.
Yeah.
So
right.
if you get 30% off, that's $1,000.
Yep. Well, I don't know if that's going to follow through with that. So that's why I said, don't quote me on that, because I'm not willing to say that same ratio is going to exist for electric bicycles and also for cars. All I'm speaking about is electric motorcycles.
I know the maximum is like 12.5.
Yeah. So the old system, under the last system we had, the maximum you could get back was 2,500 because 10% of 25,000 was 2,500. So now that it's going up to 30%, that changes the game a lot. Up to $7,500 back on a electric motorcycle is fucking serious. So
There's going to be a lot of strip mining going on.
again, or there's going to be a hell of a lot of encouragement for somebody to come up with a different battery technology, because the more users there are, the more demand there is for a different battery technology.
It's the
So-
motors too. It's the
Absolutely.
rare metal, earth metals in the motors that are
Absolutely.
really the limiting factor.
Yep. There's going to be limited factors on everything. Have you heard about these things called computer chips? And apparently Chevys and Dodges and Fords need them.
So
Yeah.
ridiculous. I mean, you would think they just use the most common chip possible because it does the same thing.
Here's the
They
weird
don't,
thing.
they don't do the same
They don't
thing.
do the same thing. Here's
No,
the
but I
weird
mean,
all
thing.
different.
you can't run your windshield wipers and all your other bullshit off of like a cheap chip. I mean, I could see for a engine
You can
control
run it off of
management,
a-
that's something else.
Run all of it off of one computer.
Well, there's different
Yeah.
kinds of chips. There's
Yeah.
microcontrollers, there's transistors, there's motor drivers, there's
Yeah, but what I'm saying
rectifiers.
is, why would you make a proprietary one when you could have use a common chip?
Well, a lot of them do.
Yeah.
Most of the stuff is off the shelf.
Right.
They might have a few proprietary chips that they use for certain systems, but I think most of it is just off the shelf stuff.
The same chips that are affecting the lack of PlayStation 5s are affecting the lack of Ford
Right.
trucks. So, it's having a cross-platform effect right now. The weird thing is this, like it hasn't affected the ability for them to make Zero motorcycles. It hasn't affected them the ability to make Triumph motorcycles. It hasn't affected the ability to make Vespa motorcycles. Like it seems to be strange that it's affecting the car industry so violently. Like it has hit them harder than anything. I can't drive anywhere without seeing a parking lot with 1,800 to 3,000 Chevy trucks or Ford trucks in that parking lot because we build them up here. So we're looking
Right.
for places to store them.
Like you said, the what is it, the minor league baseball
Yeah.
field out there
Yeah.
west of Avon? Like I drove by there and there's white Ford trucks all over the. I mean, like they're all.
I counted them. So I was driving by and I just decided to do a real quick math, like real quick, figured out how many vehicles are there. And there's over 3,000 trucks there. And so if you've got a minor league baseball stadium and their parking lot holds about 5,000 cars, right?
And they're not making
3,000
any money.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah. And
How
so
are they
there's
gonna resolve-
yeah.
How are they going to resolve the fact that the cars are 2 years old? They have a stamped VIN number on it
Right.
that says whatever, and then they're going to try to sell them to you as a brand new car. I mean, as a 2023.
So
Or are they going
as
to
I
sell
was
them as 20?
Yeah, as I was just saying, right now they're charging people 20 grand or 10 grand over the sticker on a car because there's an absolute shortage right now. But pretty soon something's going to happen, and all those hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of cars that are sitting on racetracks and parking lots all across America are all going to get released at the same time. And that's called a glut. And when you have a glut, the prices drop real fucking fast. So
I don't know though.
It's still your used car now.
They might end up fucking over the company. They're just gonna stop production.
Right.
So they're not gonna want to tank the market.
Right.
When they start putting those out for sale, then they're gonna drop off on manufacturing and everybody's gonna get laid off.
Right. Yep.
For at least a year, you're gonna have all these Ford employees and stuff that are gonna be, well, collecting unemployment, but
It would be really hard to sell somebody in June of 2022 their brand new 2020 Ford truck.
Yeah.
So you're not going to get top dollar.
Unless they can't buy a 2024, they only are selling 2022s.
Exactly. Yep. Oh, if
Yeah.
you want to buy a Toyota Tundra right now, you can watch any number of videos where people are testing the brand new 2022 Tundra. It's a new platform. And you can watch 100 videos of people telling you how great it is. But it's not even available on Toyota's website. If you go to Toyota's website, the best you can do is you can special order a 2021. So they don't even have a 2022 available to anybody who isn't a journalist to test or have fun with or whatever. Yeah.
My wife just texted me that she's at Porco. Oh no.
Are you fucking kidding me?
It's her birthday. It was her birthday yesterday. She's out with her sister, my niece, and a couple other women. This is going to be a mess when she gets home.
Yeah, she's over there having 2 or 3 Wayne killers right now.
Oh yeah.
You should probably limber up, dude.
Yeah, you should
They-
probably limber up.
I mean, I thought we covered. Well, I thought I got all that taken care of earlier today. I mean,
Maybe get a protein shake in you.
I better get some celery and water in me quick.
It's it. You know, I'm just saying, do a lot of stretching is a good idea. That's a decent idea, right? Maybe take a
Yeah.
nap. It's not a bad idea.
This could be ugly.
Maybe make a sandwich and have it standing by in the fridge just in case.
Yeah.
Prelude.
I mean,
Just get
they
it.
started at the Fulton. They went to the Fulton first, so Porco's not even their first stop. That's
No, they're going to be hitting it hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Good
know,
luck.
tomorrow morning at about 7, you have that drum set still? You might want to try to practice a little and get it going tomorrow morning.
Oh no, we're getting up bright and early to go get our Christmas tree. She's messed up.
Oh yeah, that's bad planning right there. Having any sort of early morning plans the morning after Porco is a bad idea.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So Sleepy, I wanted to say, did your oldest daughter, did she also get the vid?
Yeah, she did. It didn't hit her as hard though.
No, because she's
so we were kind of discussing whether or not, like, so I went to that concert, but okay, so here's the thing. I went to a concert on the Saturday, 2 weeks ago.
Right.
And that was vaccination passes only, or a 24-hour or
Right.
less COVID negative test.
Yeah.
Right. So like, it was like, okay, but that might have been it. But Amy was there with me and Amy's clear.
Right. Yeah.
My daughter went with me to Lowe's. And when Captain Sneeze-a-Lot walked down the thing and was just being sweaty and gross,
Yeah.
the doctor told me when I had the lab test come back in, the Delta thing, and he was asking me what I thought I might have got it.
Right.
He said that the Delta variant is breaking tradition and it's not taking 4 to 5 days to develop. It's taking up anywhere between 3 and as low as 24 hours to start showing some symptoms.
Wow.
So she got it too. But thankfully she's 19. She's also
Right.
double vaccinated. I think she was triple vaccinated, and I think that's what really helped her. She
Yeah.
got hers 2 weeks. But I was scheduled to get my third vaccination shot the day I got sick, which sucked. But so she got pretty much like a flu symptom. She lost about 70% of her taste, and she said she felt really tired, and she's been feeling better already today
Oh,
or
good.
the other day and stuff. So she got it way less worse than I did.
So has anybody in our podcast felt ill?
That was my initial thinking. I was like, oh no, I hope I didn't get
Yeah.
I hope I wasn't carrying it or something. But
Well, you know what though? I'm done. I don't care what they say. I don't care if they're like, we anal fucking probed everybody on the way into this venue today and they're all clear. I'm not going anywhere. I'll go to the podcast. I'm going to work. I'm going home. Fuck it. Until all these idiot slobs walking around with their just snots flying everywhere and everything like that, I'm done, man. This is ridiculous. Like, we all try to do something right. You try to whatever, and it's like, it just pissed me off, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, you could get it from an asymptomatic person.
You can.
And
I
so
know.
it's not like it could be that guy that was at Lowe's, but it could
Right.
be somebody at work that just walked by you and like
Right.
handed you
Right.
something or breathed in your face, or
But the thing
You
they're
never
saying
know.
though, that is, but most people that are completely vaccinated don't carry a huge viral load, so you don't
Right.
get as much. It's I don't know.
the
I went and
CDC website says it's no different. The
I went to
CDC
get-
website said there was it's no difference about what you could transmit, but
Right.
that the symptoms would be less. So
I got a PCR test on Tuesday just to be sure.
Mhm.
So I was just for the hell of it. I figured, well, I know that a week ago I was sitting 4 feet away from a guy who's out with COVID right now.
Right.
So I was like, well, just to be sure, I've had my booster, and I went in and went to the pharmacy and got a PCR test, and I was like, fuck, man, like this is the second test I've had. So it's the second voluntary test I've gone and gotten. And so it's really funny. I was like sitting there, I was like, man, if this thing comes back hot, because I don't have a single symptom, I feel fantastic. And I was like, God damn, if this thing comes back hot, that means I'm an asymptomatic carrier.
Yeah.
And then I'm that guy. Like nobody
Yeah.
wants to be that guy.
No.
And I'm like, that's the guy who's hidden the zombie bite, right?
You want to hear right before we started the podcast, I just
Yeah.
got a thing from the CDC, and it said that Omicron variant, they're finding that it likes to infect people that have already been infected.
Okay.
That's what they're
Yeah.
finding. So that's fucking scary. I'm like, God.
There'll be a
damn.
lot of stuff going on. So
they said that South Africa says it's mild, and this might be the thing that ends the epidemic because they haven't had one case that went into the hospital with it.
Right.
So that if people get it, they'll have the immunity and it'll be through the system, but it'll be a mild version of this. That's what they're saying from the doctors in South Africa.
Or it might not.
Right.
Until it
It
mutates.
Or it might
That's-
not.
No, but what I'm saying is that's what South Africa's saying right now. So who knows?
Oh, we
Boy, that
picked
might
our
be
vacation
crap.
spot because it was in the United States, US Virgin Islands. We picked it because, the idea of going out of the country could be sketchy, and there's been a lot of problems with that. And we were joking, it's like, to leave the US Virgin Islands and go to the British Virgin Islands, you have to go through all the stuff. Like you're going on a ferry boat, but then they're going to quarantine you when you get there until you produce a clear test, right? And then you also have to travel with $20,000 or $30,000 worth of travel health insurance, so that if you get sick on their tiny little island, you're not taking their resources to house your dumb ass for 14 days while you're quarantined. So they're making you have an insurance policy that, it's about $40. I mean, it's cheap, but you're also having to get a test when you arrive on the ferries. So they're leaving nothing to chance just to go across a 7-mile strait of water from the US Virgin Islands to the British Virgin Islands, or actually less than 7 miles. So it's a very interesting thing, because I know we're planning on going to the BVI, and it's funny to see what the difference is between international travel and national travel, and how it can change, even though it's a very, very short distance, even though it's a very, very tiny, tiny distance. So, yeah. And the people who are, the Canadians that just kind of opened up their borders, and now they've got Canadians that are in places like South Africa. They've got Canadians who are in places like Australia, and they're saying like, okay, well, the border was open for 11 and a half minutes. Now we don't want you to come home.
Right.
So,
but you know what? If you're gonna get stuck somewhere, sorry, Phil, you can't go home. You have to stay here in the Virgin Islands.
oh, if I was forced to stay in the Virgin Islands until like I figure about March 7th or March 8th. Yeah, that'd be a good time to settle it right down. Yeah. Sorry, I can't come home. And I paid that insurance too, that $40.
You're covered, man.
I'm covered. I think I feel something coming on. Get over there, just land in BVI, and again,
hey, I got my a couple of positive tests in bags, sealed.
Perfect.
I'll slide you one. You can put it in your
I'll
pocket.
take them with me, and then it'll be like the guy that hit the zombie bite. I'll be like, "Oh, well, you let me off the ferry. I was clean."
Yeah.
But I don't know what happened over the last 24 or 48 hours. I was sitting there drinking painkillers.
Right.
You must have a wicked hot strain over here. I'm not feeling so good. Which hotel you putting me up in?
How's the bar?
How's the bar? At the beach, right? I'm going to be quarantined on that beach.
Any sick lambs I can squeeze extra juice out of to fucking...
Gonna be fine.
Yeah.
This is gonna blow over in about 2 weeks, I promise. How much is left on the insurance policy? Okay, maybe we should buy a car. I don't think we can do this all in taxi cabs. Yeah, I'll wear a mask. It's cool.
Yeah.
That's not a bad idea. Scamming that travel insurance would be a good thing.
Yeah, that'd be all right, man.
Can you buy additional insurance policies?
What's that? What'd you say?
Can you buy additional insurance policies?
Bonus ones. Look, we didn't have to buy at the $40 level. We could have bought it a much higher level. We didn't think we needed to. We bought it what they said the minimum standard was, so that they didn't have to pay for our dumbass should we have happened to snuck some coronavirus into their country.
You didn't catch the angle on it. You got to look at the angle, man. I'm seeing a long-term stay in fucking Virgin Islands, man.
It'd be Howard Hughes. You could be in that hotel for 10 years. They'll feel a little sick.
Wearing tissue things on your feet and fucking fingernails.
The whole deal. Yeah, this coronavirus is really hanging in there. You're the last person on earth with coronavirus.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's funny.
You got to work the angles. Yeah.
If you got a joke.
Look, man, I was going to tell you, I got a joke about the Omicron variant, but you're probably not going to get it.
Okay. Oh,
anybody got anything else?
No, that was good.
Fuck it. Let's drive fast and take chances. All right, we're out of here.
You got to push the button.
I'm pushing the button right now.
All right.